points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Ezra Ginsburg, with Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets victory. Something you haven't been able to say very often as of late, but a victory over the Arizona Coyotes. It wasn't altogether pretty. It wasn't altogether easy, but it was an altogether huge 2 points for the Winnipeg Jets as they try to scratch and claw and stay in, if not get back into the playoff race in the Western Conference. Gentlemen, good to see you on this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Hope you've had an enjoyable weekend.
You know, you just mentioned it, Drew. I mean, like, this was a must win. I mean, it's still a disappointing road trip, but you have to love the way the Jets came out, you know, in that third period. And the Coyotes didn't play that poorly, actually, in the third period. At one point, they were out shooting the Jets 12-4, but obviously, you know, the Jets came on there. But I mean, Kyle Connor, guys, is easily going to score 40 goals, and he's going to have a good chance at 50 goals. So, you know, I wasn't surprised at all that Connor had 2 goals, considering that, you know, he had the breakaway in the first period. He hit the post, looked like that was actually in. I was waiting to hear the, you know, the goal horn there. So, yeah, I mean, you know, you don't like the fact that the Jets were down a goal, and, you know, it wasn't a perfect game, but, you know, they showed up when it mattered. The third period, that's something that, you know, has been a bit of an issue here. You know, Jets blowing leads and just not coming through late in games. So, yeah, you know, you say it's a huge victory. It's a victory in which, you know, they needed, but, you know, they needed the win in Colorado. They needed other wins on this road trip, right? So unfortunately, you're still, you know, quite a ways back of that second wild card spot, right? Dallas won again today, so you don't gain any ground on Dallas, unfortunately, who's ahead of you in the Central Division. But hey, it's a win, and it was their first win on this road trip. So I think you're going to take that all day long, and, you know, hopefully the Jets are going to be able to continue that on the homestand, starting off with Montreal on Tuesday.
You're right, Ezzy. They don't gain any ground on Dallas, but they do gain ground on the Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers lost in regulation 2-1 to the Carolina Hurricanes earlier this morning. It actually started, I think, 11 or 12. It was a real weird start time. And this is after the Oilers actually went into Florida yesterday and defeated the Panthers. So the Jets do gain some ground on the Oilers, but not the Stars. The Stars have actually moved into that second wild card spot, which makes, of course, next Friday's game at home against Dallas all the more important. The Jets come back on Tuesday to play the Montreal Canadiens to start the 4-game homestand, Dave M. But this is a game that, look, the Jets were down 3-2 entering the third period. And this is a team that, if I'm not mistaken, had only won one game all season, trailing after 40 minutes until today. So, you know, and it didn't really start the third period very well, as Eric Comrie had to make a couple quick saves, nice saves within the first minute of that third period before the Jets were able to sort of find their skating legs and capitalize on it. So, you know, for a team that has been fighting tooth and nail for anything successful. Yeah. And yes, it's against the Coyotes, and yes, the Coyotes are the worst team in the league.
Hey, they have more wins of late than the Winnipeg Jets.
Look, the Arizona Coyotes have recently beat the Colorado Avalanche. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights on Friday night. So this Coyotes team, and Scott Wedgwood, their goalie in particular, has been playing some good hockey. Yeah. Look, the Jets had to win this game. And this game doesn't mean that we start planning a parade route, but it's a win that they must have had in the third period. That was the most important period. You heard what Nate Beaulieu said in the second intermission. He said it's the most important period of the season, and the Jets came out, and at least they responded in the face of that. I'm going to call it a gauntlet being thrown down with my tongue firmly in cheek.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question, Drew, that it is a must-win. I mean, as he said this yesterday's show, you know, this is a must-win game. I mean, it was a must-win period. And if you want to break it down, you can do that, because that's the way we're going to be talking about a lot of these, 29 remaining games of the season. So there's a lot of hockey left to go. And we talked about this on yesterday's show yesterday morning. The whole idea is it's not insurmountable. I mean, you have to jump a bunch of teams, but if you can win these games, then you're putting yourself into a position. And we know you've got Montreal coming. They've been playing better under Marty St. Louis, but you couldn't lose this game. I mean, you've already had a fairly disastrous road trip, right? You should have had at least a point against the Flames. You allow the Dallas Stars to do what they did. And, you're not feeling great about the way things have gone so far. So to have come into Arizona, and of course, I mean, I'm not even mentioning the Colorado game because I don't think anybody in Winnipeg land, other than that first period, wants to recall that Colorado game. But, as it is, you're only walking home with 3 of 8 points. So it's hard to call it a success. And you, I believe, asked us last Saturday if this was Jets team was a mirage or not, because they were 4-2-1 coming out of the All-Star break.
Right.
Well, you've just added what you've added, which is, 1 win, 1 OT loss, and two regulation losses. So it's not a good scenario to be in right now for a Jets team that needs to be accumulating points and can't afford. I mean, when you're a minute away from at least getting a point and you don't come away with anything, and then you give up, points to a team that, like in Dallas, Calgary, you're not even, talking about, because it doesn't matter whether they get points or not in a game against you. But, Dallas is almost inexcusable versus that Colorado one. So yeah, to get back to this Arizona game, Drew, there's no question that you needed to have that third period. I mean, that again, we're not planning a parade route and we're not talking about playoffs yet, but that 2 minutes and 17 seconds where the Jets were able to flip the script and beat Wedgwood and get back into this game again, could be looked at as the most critical period of time for this Jets team, at least to date.
Certainly so. Let's get into the goals as the Jets open the scoring at the 7:39 mark of the first period. Adam Lowry's on a heater, guys. He's got 3 goals in the last few games, second in 2 games. He gets a nice deflection on another guy who's on a heater, Nate Beaulieu. All of a sudden, he's racking up assists left, right, and center. It's a Beaulieu shot, Lowry with the tip, and Wedgwood is screened, a lot of traffic in front, exactly sort of how you want it to go with some a difficult save and getting to the net. And the Jets open the scoring 1-0 at the 7:39 mark after they had a number of good opportunities that Scott Wedgwood had to play very well to keep it 0-0 to that point, Ezzy.
Yeah, and Nate Beaulieu had a strong game, and Nate Schmidt had a really good shift there. He obviously, gets the puck over to Beaulieu. I believe it was Jansen Harkins in on the forecheck, and yeah, just a beautiful tip by Lowry, who had a really good game. Like, he had some scoring chances in the third period as well. But obviously, Beaulieu, you're joking there, but he factored in, on the first 2 goals, right? Svechnikov's goal, he obviously jumps up into the play, right? So, I mean, that was just a hard-working goal, right? Like, Nate Schmidt on the half wall, comes over and close to the blue line, and just a nice little pass over to Beaulieu, nice little solid shot, and a nice tip, right? So you got to like what you saw on that goal. It was just kind of a hard-working goal, right? And obviously, was a good start for the Jets.
Yeah, exactly the start they needed, Dave. You blink twice, please. People just need to know that people need to know that you're okay as you're broadcasting from a different location this morning. I'm pretty sure that picture on the wall is just trying to, give a little bit of atmosphere, and that you're actually not.
I'll hold up a newspaper in about 2 minutes.
That's all we want there. And put the lotion in the basket if you want to go a little Silence of the Lambs on this Sunday evening. In any event, it's 1-0 for the Jets. They started the game well, and then the Coyotes tie it up, which was sort of the story of the game for the first couple periods. The Jets taking the lead, the Coyotes tying it up. It's Jacob Chikrin, his third of the season, assist to Kolya Konok and Louis Eriksson. Easy for me to say that game. That was a tough name for the Coyotes defenseman there. A goal Eric Comrie probably wants to have back. He's screened a little bit by Jansen Harkins, who both doesn't block the shot and provides a screen, so a double negative from the Jets winger. But I still think that Eric Comrie needs to make that save.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, first of all, Drew, I mean, you didn't even mention the Michigan save that he made. I mean,
sure, of course, that was even before. Yeah, even before Lowry gets the goal. It's in the first minute of the game.
I thought for sure you were going to mention that. I mean, it's not every day we see a Michigan attempted. It's not every day that you see the Michigan save. So, I mean, it was a nice move, nice save by Eric Comrie, because the truth is, you know, for all we're talking about, I mean, obviously Adam Lowry gets things started, but for that confidence, right, to get the Jets going and not have them behind the 8 ball early was important. And obviously they had to come back anyways later in the game, but I just thought it was kind of an important moment not to be embarrassed because, you know, I mean, sure, Arizona's been playing better of late, but they're still the worst team in the division, the worst team in the conference. Oh, and by the way, they're the worst team in the NHL. And so, you know, you don't want to be doing that kind of stuff and getting clowned a little bit. So, I think it's one of those attempts that you would think that you'd want to see Eric Comrie make that stop, but he doesn't. And, you know, the Jets, to their credit, are able to rebound fairly quickly thereafter.
That's right, and it was a tremendous save by Comrie. It sort of took a couple of replays to see if it, you know, if Keller maybe didn't pull it off, but he pulled it off. I mean, that was going into the top corner there, and Eric Comrie made a very big save. There was a lot of, I think, some surprised reactions that Comrie got the game today. What were your thoughts, I guess, on the decision? As hindsight is off, you know, with the win in the pocket, it obviously makes the decision seem a lot better. But were you surprised that Comrie ended up getting the game?
No, we talked about it, you know, yesterday, so I wasn't surprised at all that he got the start tonight. Today.
Yeah, so, you know, Eric Comrie, you know, gave up the 3 goals, but he made some key saves when he needed to for the Jets. We'll talk about those particularly towards the end of the game when the Coyotes' net was empty. So it's 1-1. You know, after about the first 10.5 minutes of the first period, the Jets make it 2-1. Evgeny Svechnikov, he gets on the scoreboard for the second consecutive game as well. Nate Beaulieu with his second assist of the game. I'm curious when the last time Nate Beaulieu had a multiple point game. Somebody in the chat can check that out and let us know on that one. It comes at the 10:59 mark, so a very quick response by the Jets to the Chychrun goal, taking 43 seconds for Svechnikov to get the Jets the lead. Pierre-Luc Dubois with the second assist on the goal. And again, it's a net front battle that Svechnikov wins, and the Jets are scoring from the quote-unquote dirty areas. And, you know, I thought Svechnikov, you know, sort of a two-parter for you I thought Svechnikov was good, quite good in tonight's game. And you can talk about his impact on this goal as well.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this goal. It was you kind of broke it down pretty well there. I mean, it was a nice pinch by Nate Beaulieu, and then he just jumps on the rebound, beats the I don't remember the Coyotes defenseman who he beat the puck to, but yeah, he was good tonight, and we've kind of talked about it all year long. You know, he's really found the most chemistry and had the most success with Connor and Dubois, and that was the best line for the Jets tonight.
Well, you know, Dave, it's sort of funny. You watched Svechnikov play. We've watched him play with multiple different lines this year, and he's been by far the most impressive with Connor and Dubois. And they had chemistry at the beginning of the year, and then they were playing well. And then for whatever reason, this goes back before Dave Lowry. It was
coach's brain, I believe, is what it's called.
Yeah, that was my. It was Paul Maurice who broke them up.
Yeah,
you know, after some pretty good success to start the year.
That's right.
People were curious about it then. They remain curious about it because Svechnikov, when he's played with those guys, has had an impact. And tonight he had another impact for the Jets with a 2-point night.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been on that for a while, and we were talking about it on the show when you were trying to find a place for Evgeny Svechnikov, and he's sitting, and he was a healthy scratch. It did make a lot of sense because we've talked about the idea of muscle memory, and you knew the lines had success. And look, you could put any of the three of us I'm kidding, but with those two guys, Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois, the way they're playing this season, and there's a good chance you're going to have success. There's not an automatic chance. And so, I mean, but we've talked about it. Svechnikov has looked good with those guys. He's comfortable with them. He seems to fit the mold. He goes to the spot, the dirty areas. So I think he's the kind of guy you need on there. And look, Pierre-Luc Dubois, there's no question he's playing like strong as a horse, and he's doing a lot of his own digging. But I don't think it's bad to have a guy like that on the line who will be willing to go into the corners, retrieve the puck, get it for Kyle Connor, draw people to him, and then give Kyle Connor the puck so he can do what he does when he has some time and space. So, I mean, I really like it. I was calling for it when there was kind of that question as to who you were going to have on that
rotating door in that spot.
Well, yeah, and it did make a lot of sense because you need to have guys who have chemistry right now because you need points, you need success, and so that a key to that is making sure that Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois are firing on all cylinders.
The Jets' lead doesn't last very long. It lasts a little less than 6 minutes as the Coyotes tie it up at the 16:40 mark of the first period. Barrett Hayden, his fourth of the year, assists to Nick Ritchie and Jacob Chikrin, and there's a lot to dislike by the Winnipeg Jets on this one. It's a beautiful goal by Barrett Hayden, no question about it. But there's a couple of guys who really just sort of look a little bit embarrassed here. Brendan Dillon is way out of position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure what he's doing. And then he doesn't hustle back to get back into position after Hayden beats him the first time. And then it's Barrett Hayden, who was a first-round pick, against Austin Pagansky, one-on-one. Pagansky back sort of covering for Brendan Dillon in this play. And that's a mismatch. And it was evident in how the goal was scored. A beautiful by Barrett Hayden there, Ezzy.
Yeah, it was a really nice individual effort by Barrett Hayden. And I think that it was just a question of, Brendan Dillon thinking that maybe, there was someone behind him, that was going to close the gap there. But yeah, I mean, Austin Pagansky was definitely undressed there.
Yeah. And Dave, look, I don't quite understand what Dillon was doing there. That's not a time to step up on the guy to try and level the hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't even that. He just looked, he was so far out of position. And then
Yeah.
you go back and you watch the replay and, he takes one stride and then he's coasting. And by the time he realizes that Pagansky's in a lot of trouble and then Eric Comrie's in a lot of trouble, it's too late. The puck's in the back of the net. And, his lack of hustle there is a glaring problem.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I mean, that was errors all over the place. It, you're thinking to yourself, is Hayden a 40-goal scorer the way? I mean, it was, when you're listening on the broadcast, and that was his fourth goal of the season.
Yeah,
shocking given the fact that he looked like a 40-goal scorer there. So, there were, oftentimes we tend to focus on one person in a play, like whether the goaltender makes a mistake or a forward or defenseman makes a mistake, and you key and highlight on them. I think there were a number of players in that instance where who were making mistakes on the play, which led to a goal against the Jets.
Yeah, there was, it was one of those plays where they talk about the Jets being sort of easy to play against and giving up the middle of the ice too easily. That's a pretty good textbook example thereof. Just bad communication all around for the Jets on that play, and the Coyotes take advantage. And after 20 minutes, an entertaining 20 minutes. No, but these were not too. These are not two good teams. Don't get me wrong, but at least the game was relatively entertaining after 20 minutes.
Yeah,
a two all score after 20. The Jets and the Coyotes. Coyotes really, I thought, controlled the second period, and they get what was then their first lead of the game. Nick Ritchie getting his third of the season, his first as a member of the Coyotes, as he was just acquired from the Toronto Maple Leafs earlier this week. Nick Ritchie assists to Louis Eriksson and another assist to Barrett Hayden again. And this is a very nice play by Louis Eriksson as he sort of catching everybody looking the wrong way and going backdoor with the pass from behind the net.
Yeah, and I think what happens here is that it's just bad defensive coverage. Like on this play, it's a nice play by Louis Eriksson. Shane Gostisbehere had the original point shot, and what happens is I believe it's Nate Schmidt, if I'm not mistaken, goes behind the net, and Nate Beaulieu had followed Barrett Hayton, and Pierre-Luc Dubois was just a little bit slow, didn't react to cover Nick Ritchie. So nice play by Eriksson, but the Jets just gave the Coyotes a little bit too much time and just weren't sharp enough defensively there.
They definitely weren't. You don't love that second period at all by the Jets. I know that they ended up out shooting the Coyotes in the second period, but I thought for a lot of that period, the Coyotes sort of owned the flow to it, despite what Natural Stat Trick is telling me in that second period. They're saying that was the Jets' best period. I didn't feel that way, Dave M. I thought the Coyotes had the Jets on their heels a lot in that second period, but clearly I've been I'm being.
Well, your eye test is failing you, Drew.
My eye test is
get
failing
those eyes
me.
checked.
Yes. Well, maybe it's I'm not wearing my glasses. That must be it.
Yeah, perhaps. But
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's sometimes you provide analysis and the numbers don't tell you the same thing that you thought you saw, but you can always review it and look on later and see what you maybe catch some things that you didn't notice off the top.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
admittedly, my son and I were in an intense game of Guess Who at that point. So I was
the
watching
old
the game.
school one where you like flip the.
Oh yeah, old school Guess Who. It's a great game. The only problem, of course, is that my son he's only 4, and he can't really read. So when you're asking him, is so and so your character in Guess Who, he really doesn't have any sort of answer for you. So it's a really fun game.
Well, and I would say that probably the bigger problem, Drew, is the fact that, you know, he was actually the one facing the TV with the illegal curve Twitter, and you were the one who was facing away from it. So that would preclude you from probably understanding exactly what you were seeing in the game. But
he was very articulate with his tweets for a 4-year-old, though.
I was impressed. I was impressed. I was like, okay, this is some good tweeting. So I mean, I actually figured it wasn't you because the tweeting was pretty good. But yeah, so there you go. So look. It's a tough period to see, because you've got a Jets team that is not happy being tied after 20, and you're thinking to yourself, you need to win that period, and yet you find yourself down 3-2. Now 3-2 against the Coyotes doesn't mean you're like 3-2 against Colorado Avalanche. So it's not as if it's an insurmountable game. And to the point you made, Drew, it's not one that you don't feel that you're capable of coming back in, but it's not a good position to be in based on the reality, which is this is such an important and such a critical game. Forget about the fact that you need to get home feeling good about your road trip, even though you can't feel good about the road trip. But you have to put some sort of, you have to polish the turd, as they say, in some capacity.
Can you imagine how they'd feel if they lost to the Coyotes?
Well, if they lost to the Coyotes, we're having a completely different conversation, you know. And you know, I mean, it becomes a function of, you know, at that point you're just figuring out like trade deadline scenarios. And again, like I said, it's not complete, wouldn't obviously eliminate them, but it would not be a good situation. So yeah, I mean, I think it's not an ideal period, but you know, Eric Comrie was playing better, which is obviously important. And you only find yourself down a goal, which, like we talked about, isn't insurmountable in this league.
It certainly isn't insurmountable. The Jets are down, like you said, 3-2 after 40 minutes. Nate Beaulieu, you know, he gets interviewed by Dennis in the second intermission, and he says, clearly, it's the most important period, and I thought the Jets, for the most part, had a pretty good response in the third period. You know, Eric Comrie had to make a number of saves early in that period, within the first minute. And had he not made those saves, well, you wonder what the tenor of the rest of the period would have been. But the Jets were, they needed the period, and they won the period 3-0, which obviously gave them the victory. Blake Wheeler gets his 7th of the year, assist to Scheifele and Stasny, the big boys stepping up on the tying goal at the 3:17 mark. You know, and this is what you need. You need your leadership group, and we'll talk about all that jazz, you know, coming up after the break. But you need your leadership to get you that goal, and that you know, line for the Jets steps up in that instance.
Yeah, it was a pretty straightforward goal, and you know, Blake Wheeler obviously, you know, was missing the net quite a bit earlier, right? Like Stasny fed him a really good pass in the second period, came in through the slot and missed the net. But yeah, this was just I think a perfect use of the screen and good use of speed by Blake Wheeler. And you know, we talked about Kyle Connor was having, you know, scoring chance after scoring chance earlier in the game, hitting the post. You know, he had the breakaway. Scott Wedgwood made the good save, but yeah, that was just I thought a really good veteran shot, and just I think it was Dyson Mayo, if I'm not mistaken, who was the defenseman back on that 2-on-1. And I just thought that, you know, he made it seem like there might be the option of a pass, but you could tell Wheeler was thinking shot the whole time.
And I like the idea. I like the approach. You know, if you're going for a pass there, it could lead to more. It could lead to something not great happening. It could take away from the scoring opportunity. Wheeler, you know, like you said, the defenseman takes away the pass, no question, and Wheeler, you know, beats Scott Wedgwood. And you know, Blake Wheeler should beat Scott Wedgwood. Blake Wheeler is a better player than Scott Wedgwood is a goalie. And the Jets captain steps up in that instance. And Wedgwood was very good in today's game, don't get me wrong. And he's been on a heater for the Coyotes the last 3 or 4 games. But the Jets needed their captain to step up in that instance. And as a result, he did, tying the game at that point in time. 2 minutes later, 2 minutes and 17 seconds later, Dave M., Kyle Connor from Evgeny Svechnikov and Pierre-Luc Dubois, the Jets' second big boy line, gives them the lead. It proves to be the game-winning goal. Just an absolutely beautiful passing play. It starts with Neil Pionk, a clean breakout, a clean zone entry, tic-tac-toe, as they like to say, and Kyle Connor makes no mistake and no chance for Wedgwood to rob Connor for a third or a fourth time in today's game.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Connor is pretty automatic generally, and so you knew that he was going to he was going to bury a chance like that, and really nice chance for that line. And that's what you need to see. We just talked about it earlier, right? The idea that they're contributing and that chemistry is evident. You can see that they're you can watch it in the play. Like, and sometimes the most important thing in hockey, and you don't get the benefit of it when you're watching on television, is to see what guys are doing away from the puck, right? And that's why, like I always say, it's so critical to be at games. Be like, what's the advantage? Well, there's a lot. You actually get to see what players do when they don't have the puck, and that to me is probably way more important than what these guys can do with the puck. And so you'll often watch what guys do, and like I said, that ability is removed when you're watching on television. But I just think that line is feeling it, and they're feeling comfortable. And look, I saw one of the comments in the chat. It's, well, this is the Coyotes. True, but I mean, you can only play who's in front of you, and that's your only option. So, I mean, this is a line that looks good. Again, I mean, if they get broken up, I just don't understand it. I mean, we don't know, and some of the other questions in the chat, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I'm assuming in terms of, Andrew Kopp, when he's going to be back, and Cole Perfetti, and what you're going to do, Nikolai Ehlers as well. I suspect, just to quickly answer that, I suspect we'll get some sort of insight on Tuesday, the day the Jets are playing the Habs. And I think that they're not home tomorrow. I mean, I think they're home later, but I don't think we'll have an availability tomorrow. So
yeah,
I haven't looked.
Tomorrow is going to be an off day.
I'm assuming that as well. I just haven't seen a schedule yet. So we'll see that a little bit later. There's going to be some questions, but I just think that you need to ensure that you keep this thing going for those guys. I mean, the Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing like a beast. Kyle Connor is scoring, and Evgeny Svechnikov is producing. What did Paul Maurice say when he was the coach? He said, Evgeny Svechnikov can stay on the line as long as he's producing. Well, if he's producing, I don't see why you would bump him from that line. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just think it's a function of keep those guys together, get them going. You've got the Wheeler and Stastny. I mean, the other option for me at least is, and again, we don't know who's going to be back. You can always bump Paul Stastny down if you need to, and have somebody else with Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele. But I just wouldn't mix up that chemistry of that other line. They just seem to be playing too well together.
I wouldn't do anything yet with the top six right now. If Andrew Kopp is back on Tuesday, and I would expect that he will be, because he did practice yesterday for the team in Arizona, and a lot of people thought he might even be in the lineup today. But assuming that he's still healthy or is healthy for Tuesday's game, I would expect him to slide into the the third line with Harkins and Lowry, Pagansky to drop down even more, and maybe still be a part of the fourth line. I'm not sure, but right now, you've won the game. Svechnikov with a goal and an assist, Connor with 2 goals, Dubois with 2 assists, Wheeler with a goal, Scheifele with an assist. Why start messing with that? For Tuesday's game, I wouldn't expect to see any lineup changes to the top 6 for Tuesday, Ezzy.
No, I wouldn't expect there. Well, I mean, we don't expect Ehlers back, obviously,
right?
But yeah, I would probably imagine that the forward lines are going to stay relatively the same. I mean, especially Dubois, Connor, and Svechnikov, and there's no reason to break up Scheifele and Wheeler and Stastny. So yeah, it'll probably be, I imagine, just based on past history, if Kopp is ready to go Tuesday, he'll be on the wing on the third line.
The Jets almost had a chance to make it actually 5-3 before the empty netter. Mark Scheifele with a penalty shot handed out to him. Wedgwood makes a nice glove save. I don't think Scheifele got it up as high as he wanted to on this instance. It's funny. That was the only penalty. Well, I shouldn't say there were the offsetting penalties that led to the 4-on-4. Dubois and Chychrun each got penalties that had a 4-on-4 sequence in the second period. But aside from that penalty shot, that was the only penalty handed out. There were no 5-on-4 power plays in the entirety of the game, which is certainly a rarity in this day and age. I'm not sure if, I don't remember anything blatant. It was a bit of a no-hitter out there between the two teams, so that could explain why there wasn't a lot of fisticuffs or wasn't a parade to the penalty box, which is sort of nice, I got to be honest, because it's been a long time since we've had some games where it's been penalty after penalty after penalty, Ezzy.
Yeah, it wasn't a physical game, that's for sure, and it was a little bit weird that you didn't have any a lot of power plays, right? But yeah, I mean, look at I think you can't say this is a huge game. I mean, like a huge win. Like, this was a really disappointing road trip. I mean, I thought you would have to win 3 of 4 games for this to be a successful road trip. And I mean, the Jets' chances of making the playoffs are not good right now, but you were able to salvage something from this 4-game road trip. Like if you would have come back and only got a point or no points in this game, but I think you can't you can't lose focus here of how far the Jets are back right now of the playoff line. They're 6 points back of Edmonton. So look at the games they have coming up: Montreal, Dallas, the Rangers, and the Lightning. You have to win all 4 of them. Even going 3-1 is not going to be enough at this point in the season.
You're right. You need to win games that you're not expected to win. And the way the Rangers and the Lightning have been playing, they certainly, those would count as games the Jets wouldn't be expect to win. But they're going to need to steal a bunch, not just one. They're going to need to steal a whole bunch, to your point, Ezzy, to really get back into the playoff race. The Jets iced the game at the 18:52 mark. Kyle Connor is 32nd of the year. Assist to Neil Pionk, but truly the assist should go to Eric Comrie, who makes a number of big saves while the Coyotes had the net empty, including coming crease to crease, side to side, to absolutely stone. Was it Phil Kessel? I'm not 100. Or Alex Galchenyuk. Nick Schmaltz. Okay, there you go. Absolutely robs him. And then on the subsequent rush, it's Connor into the empty net, and Eric Comrie was absolutely huge because the Coyotes were very close to tying this game in the last minute and a half. Ezzy.
Yeah, absolutely. He was good tonight and today. Sorry, and I think that especially considering the first goal by Jacob Chychrun, that's a goal. Mm-hmm. Even though there was a little bit of a screen, you don't like to give up a goal like that. So yeah, full marks for Comrie, who we've talked about hasn't played a lot this season, but for the most part, he was pretty strong with the exception of that first goal, I would say.
Dave, would you give any thought to starting Comrie again on Tuesday against the Montreal Canadiens, or is that to you a non-starter?
No, it's a non-starter. You got to get Connor Hellebuyck back in the net. He had the day off today. He'll have another day off tomorrow, and then he'll be back in the net. You want him to be fresh. You want him to be feeling good. And then, the beauty of it is, because otherwise, think about it, Drew, then he doesn't play again until Friday, right? Because the Jets don't play a game until Friday against Dallas. So I just think you can't afford to have Connor Hellebuyck, out of his rhythm. I think you need to get him back in. And we talked about it. What did Connor Hellebuyck need? He needed a rest. Yeah. Well, he got his rest, but he's the main guy. He's the guy who's going to lead you. If you're going to be able to do anything, he's the guy you're going to have to rely on. He's the workhorse you're going to have to ride. So to me, Connor Hellebuyck, I'm big on Eric Comrie, right? He's 6-2-1 as a Jets backup goaltender, and all the naysayers who were said he couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Well, he's doing it, right? And what do we say you need Eric Comrie to do? Which is win you about 10 games. Well, he's close to doing that for this Jets club. And as he was talking about this the other day, Jets have 16 games in March. Eric Comrie is going to be playing plenty of games, but you have to give the start back to Connor Hellebuyck. You got to get him feeling good, and like I said, you'll get him playing that game. Then he'll most likely play on the Friday, and then you'll find then the rhythm. Then the games are going to start, one after the other. That's when Eric Comrie will come in, spell him in, and it's another instance where you have enough confidence in your goaltender to feel that you can win games with him in the net.
I think Dave, there's a good chance he'll play all 4 games on that homestand. I'm not saying that Comrie. There's not a chance that Comrie plays one game, but if I had to, place a bet or wager, I would say that Hellebuyck's probably going to start all 4 games here, especially considering how it ends with the Rangers and the Lightning. You're going up against 2 of the best goalies in the league.
You're right, and I agree with you, Ezzy, and it's sort of fortuitous that at least on this homestand, there's no back-to-backs, and it's actually a fair bit of time, especially between today's game and then Tuesday's game and then Friday's game. So it's not a really for a busy month, it doesn't really kick into high gear until next Sunday, because that's when they got the 4 in the 6 nights. That's when they go Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and you'll see Eric Comrie either against the Devils or against the Islanders when they go back-to-back on the Thursday, Friday.
Those powerhouse Islanders and Devils, right?
Well, you know what? The truth is, you're right. It's not the most difficult schedule. I mean, the Rangers and the Lightning are obviously challenging, and the Dallas Stars, well, that's a team that you're within striking distance of. And the Montreal Canadiens, you played the worst team in the league today. The Montreal Canadiens are the second worst team. They might even be the worst team in the league by the time Tuesday comes around again, if Arizona plays between now and then. And then the Islanders and the Devils are 2 struggling teams. So if the Jets can do something on this homestand, well, the first 2 games of the road trip next week are also relatively, I'd say, easy, but putting easy in quotes when you're a team. When you're the Jets right now, nothing comes easily. let's go to break. When we come back, there'll be a Moose Minute because the Moose were in action, and it was a very entertaining end to the game, as Dave M has been chronicling on his Twitter feed and, of course, on illegalcurve.com. We'll talk about Blake Wheeler's comments yesterday where, the leadership issue came up again. Much more to come. Stay with us. And, of course, the Tough Duck Toque giveaway. Don't go anywhere. It's a Sunday evening. Your family can wait. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boys, finding parking on game day shouldn't take longer than the Minute Minute.
It shouldn't take longer than 1 minute?
Yeah, less than a minute? I spend at least 20 driving around to find street parking, or if I'm in a rush to the game, I'll shovel out 20 at a parkade.
You're both doing it wrong. There's this app called Grid Park. It lets you find and pre-book your parking spot on game days, and you can reserve your spot up to 1 month in advance. And guess how much you'll pay?
Tell me, Dave. You know I love a deal.
Ezzy, $5.
Come on, $5?
Yeah, and it's just 2 blocks from the arena.
The Grid Park app?
Yep, spelled GRYD Park. And you know what else?
There's more?
Our listeners get their first park free with the code FIRSTPARK.
Wow, so they just download the Grid Park app and pre-book their next game day spot for free?
Yeah, you got it, Ez. Promo code FIRSTPARK. Only on the Grid Park app.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Ten minutes after 6 o'clock, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. A happy Sunday evening to everybody joining us. If you haven't already done so, we kindly request that you smash the like button. If you haven't already done so, we kindly request that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast. That way you won't miss a minute of our great Illegal Curve content. And our final request, of course, is to tell a loved one, tell a family member, tell a friend recommend that the best place to be after every Winnipeg Jets game and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel for some of our great programming. Ezzy's going to come up with a Tough Duck winner for us momentarily, but in the meantime, it's what you've all been waiting for. It's been a while. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the...
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manitoba Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
David, you're on mute. You couldn't do your one thing. The one thing you had to do was not be on mute.
Yeah, I know. I like the little S beside the minute. Yeah, it's very good,
Yeah.
Drew. The Moose were coming off a loss against Chicago, the top team in the Central Division yesterday. So they were looking for a split on Cole Perfetti bobblehead day. Exactly. Drew Noon, the bobble. So people didn't want to give up their chance. 3,000 bobbleheads were given out. It was also the Project 11 game, so there are a lot of young fans in the building. Over 4,000 people watching today's afternoon contest in Winnipeg while the Jets game was going on. So that's a good thing that they were able to see this Moose club who, was looking to rebound. They've hit a bit of a slide, something we haven't seen from them, even as they're getting more and more players back. And things didn't start off too well for Manitoba, giving up a power play goal, to start the game. They managed to tie it up. Then the wheels started to fall off. 2 quick goals by Chicago gave the visitors a 3-1 lead, and the goaltenders pulled. Not Mikkel Burden, and skipping ahead to the end of the game, the reason people are asking if he's injured, but apparently, according to Mark Morrison, in exchange with Jacob Stoller, they were told. He said that it was load management. They don't want to get him too much work, I guess. So they're giving him some time off, not even dressing him. Arvid Holm had to come in down 3-1, but he was excellent. He made a number of high-quality saves, kept his club in it, and that allowed the Moose to kind of chip away. Bobby Lynch, Evan Poli scored 2 goals in the second period to tie the game at 3. Third period was excellent, but nobody scored. Fourth period, aka overtime, was phenomenal. The Wolves thought they scored quickly in OT to take the win. I didn't think it was a good goal, but you never know. And in the AHL, there's no review because they have to have consistency across the league, and they don't have it in terms of the ability to
certain arenas have the video review capabilities,
right,
but not all the arenas do.
That's correct. So what they ended up doing was but the officials made the call, and you don't usually often see it because it was ruled a goal, but they made the right call. They overturned it because Arvid Holm wouldn't have been able to make that stop. So overtime continued. Excellent. A couple of chances. Moose hit a post, but neither team could finish it off. So instead it goes to overtime where David Gustafson, who's back playing with the Moose, he's looking good again. And he scored a silky smooth goal. And it was funny because Fink said, the Gus doesn't miss that or whatever, something like that. But it's true. He's very, very good in the shootout. So he gave the Moose a lead. Arvid Holm made probably one of the most unconventional saves I've ever seen in a shootout. And then Jeff Malott scored probably one of the funniest. Well, not the goal. The goal itself was actually a pretty one where he tucked it 5-hole to give the Moose the 4-3 shootout win. That wasn't it, but it was the post-win celebration where the visitors go. When the Wolves realized they'd lost, the backup goaltender is coming out onto the ice to join his teammates to go to the room, and Jeff Malott, that's where the Moose dressing room is. So Jeff Malott just kept skating right to the door, and he did a walk-off. And I've never seen anything like it. It was actually rather entertaining.
Well, I think Wheeler did a walk-off in a shootout. We know his chin snap, Sally, but I thought there was one game where he also sort of did the chin snap and skated off and sort of walked off the ice on his own. But you're right. It was a very interesting walk-off. It's on your Twitter feed at ICDave. I saw that it's already been retweeted by some of the aggregators who put together hockey coverage. So if you want to see a very entertaining walk-off shootout winner by Jeff Malott, a guy who, and you can speak to this, Dave. It seems like he's getting closer to maybe getting a taste at the NHL level. Mm-hmm. If this season ends up going off the rails over the final, 30 games here, would you be surprised to see Malott get a game or two at the NHL level, given his performance so far with the Moose?
No, not at all. I mean, he's a guy who scores he's like the guy in the AHL who scores from the inner slot, and he's big. I think he's about 6'4", and he isn't afraid to go to the dirty area. It's not the fastest, but I think he's worth giving a shot. I actually thought that they may, when they needed, when they picked up Brooks, I actually thought Jeff Malott might get his first chance. I mean, you signed him to an NHL deal. Mm-hmm. He's having an excellent season again for what he brings to the table. So I don't see why you wouldn't give him a shot, because that's kind of the whole point, right? Like, the whole idea is you want to see what these players are capable of when you have them under contract. So, you've seen what you can get from Christian Reichel, and we know he's not playing because he got hurt, I think, in the Calgary game. But you've got opportunities, at least, to get these guys into the NHL and see what you have. So we're not there yet, of course, Drew. I agree, but I had just a thought that he might be an option at forward, because we really don't even have any. Between him and Mikey Esimont. Mikey Esimont's another interesting name. Fast skater, tenacious, not big, of course, but that doesn't necessarily preclude you from playing in the NHL. I thought he was another guy, and he's under an NHL deal. But they don't have a lot of guys at forward, at least, who are on NHL deals. David Gustafsson, of course, will be the next guy called up when they need someone.
Well, let's talk about David Gustafsson. Sure. How did he look in today's game? He's now sort of played a few games in a row now for the Moose after the significant layoff due to the sort of back-to-back injuries he suffered for the Jets. Yeah. How has he looked? I mean, he did score in the shootout as well, to get the Moose off a good start on the shootout earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's looking comfortable, and that's what you needed him to do, right? Like, he's doing everything that he wouldn't be doing in the NHL right now, because you wouldn't be playing him. So I think, if you need to get him in, and if you need to make a change on that fourth line, I think that, David Gustafsson can be really, quite frankly, in the Christian Vesalainen spot, because I think he's better suited for it. I think that is his makeup. That's his DNA. He's much more solid. And I understand Christian Vesalainen is trying to adapt to that role, but that is the role David Gustafsson is kind of built for. So, I mean, to me, David Gustafsson is a guy you might want to, and he's got a little more offense than I think he gets credit for. So, yeah, I think it's a matter of time before he gets the recall. But of course, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's why I said to earlier in the show, I think we'll have to wait to see what happens on Tuesday to find out about, as you said, Drew, Andrew Kopp being back in a regular jersey, Cole Perfetti, and we'll see what else happens with the CJ Cease. They've got a lot of injured guys who could be back soon. And again, no taxi squad, so they're going to have to be sent back down to the AHL if you can't keep them in the NHL.
And there you have it. Today's Manitoba Moose Minute, the Moose winners in the shootout. Big. We hope that everybody that got some tickets, courtesy of Dave M and us at Illegal Curve, enjoyed yesterday's game. Obviously, the result not as good yesterday, and then they enjoyed this afternoon's game, a much more favorable result for the hometown Moose. They're still, the homestand continues. They're in action. I know next weekend. Is there a Wednesday game for the Moose as well this week?
No, they play on Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
I think it's Rockford on Thursday. They've got it's a 9-game homestand. They've played 5 so far. So 4 games remaining. I think it's 2 against Rockford, and I'm not sure who the other 2 are against, but
you'll look it up.
I'll look it up while you're figuring out Ezzy's Tough Duck.
Ezzy, Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. Who is the lucky winner of the Tough Duck toque?
Yeah, we're going to give it to Gordy Angus. I think I sent you you've got it up there. So the comment was, I know we can only play the team in front of us, but we barely beat Arizona today, and we should still be big sellers at the deadline. So obviously Gordy is not shy to give his opinion. I take no solace in this win. It's a hardest hitting comment. You don't have to agree with it. But I like how assertive he is there. So send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com. Send me your mailing address, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you.
There you go. Congratulations to Mr. Angus for the winner, as the winner of today's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Want to say a big thank you to, of course, all of our sponsors: Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Bernstein's Deli, the aforementioned Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Grid Park. $5. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the Illegal Curve Post-Game Show, and illegalcurve.com. Gentlemen, before we wrap up tonight's post-game show, just a thought on the interaction, the back and forth between Blake Wheeler and Jeff Hamilton that has got everybody a buzz and tongues a-wagging since yesterday.
I don't know what was said. I didn't hear it.
Okay, Dave M. I'll go to Ezzy.
Well, tell me what was said. I mean,
basically, it was just Jeff asked him a question, and Blake said something to the effect of.
Jeff asked him a question, a legitimate question that Blake should have been prepared for because he had a day to expect it. It wasn't a.
It was like a leadership question, Ezzy. And to be honest, honestly, Drew, I'll just quickly interject. I didn't think anything of it. And like, I didn't even link some of the headlines because they're so stupid. Like reporter in this get into a pissing match. I didn't put them in, like Sportsnet did it. I was like, what a stupid headline. I really didn't think anything of it. I really don't care. I mean,
I still don't know what was said. Nobody said what was said.
Basically, it was just a back and forth between Hamilton and Wheeler about.
Jeff asked a question, a legitimate question that, and Wheeler, what folks need to understand, if they don't already know this, is that Blake's sort of default position often, especially with hard questions, not that one was particularly hard or unexpected, is that he responds with sarcasm. Mm-hmm. He usually responds with sarcasm. That is his, default, your response generally.
Yeah.
Now, in this instance, I think he probably was even more sarcastic than he intended to be.
And I think it went over Jeff's head.
Well, not that it even went over Jeff's head, but
a little bit.
I mean, I think that Blake was being sarcastic, and then he mentioned that he didn't feel appreciated, or that the leadership group isn't appreciated. Now, does he truly believe that? I mean, if he does, then he's really got a bit of a persecution complex going on, because he's definitely appreciated.
I thought they don't read or watch anything.
Right, of course, yeah. They don't read or watch anything.
How do they know what's going on if they don't read or watch anything? Yeah. It always amazes me when I hear that. I don't read the newspaper. It's like, interesting. So you don't read the newspaper, or you don't watch the shows, but yet somehow you always know what's being said.
It's magic. They must have somebody just reporting it to them all the time.
To be honest with you, I just think it's like much ado about nothing. I really didn't. I mean, I think it's typical Blake Wheeler. So if you don't like it, fine. And I just didn't think, and Jeff didn't really seem to give a shit, to be honest with you, either. Like he just, I think Jeff's only concern was he just didn't like the way it was being reported on Twitter after the fact, where people were going for kind of whatever your angle was on it, that people were trying to kind of move that narrative forward. But I mean, we see that stuff all the time. I don't really think anything of it, to be honest with you.
That's just it. And you have to understand that that's Blake Wheeler in a nutshell. Now, should that be how he is as the captain of the Winnipeg Jets? Well, that's a decision for the organization to make, and how they want to be presented in the public eye by their captain. I didn't think much of it either, Dave. I agree with you. I thought it was more much ado about nothing. A sarcastic response, it's not, there's no animosity. Jeff and Blake don't have this significant history that people are making it out to be, that this is some sort of personal vendetta between one and the other. I mean, I think that's taking it way more than there is there. I thought there was, to your point, a lot of smoke, but no fire. And then, a little bit entertaining stuff for a Saturday evening, as far as I'm concerned, because I can promise you, each and every one of us in the media has been has felt the sarcasm of Blake Wheeler before, and that's just how he is as a person. And to go back to my politics days, it's not called answer period; it's called question period in terms of the back and forth and the give and give and take in situations like that. I don't think there's going to be much more to it. I think it was
I think it's over and done with.
I would agree. And people are asking me, would I ask him the same question? Of course, it's a question that had to be asked. That's the irony of the whole thing is that you lose the way you lose on Friday, in the manner in which you lose, and you have who spoke on Friday again? It was Pierre-Luc Dubois. Yeah, and Lowry. Yeah, so they spoke and they said what they said. The first Wheeler's going to be asked those questions based on what those players said on Friday night. The first time he meets with the media, those weren't unexpected questions. I just don't understand why he wasn't prepared for them, or didn't just give the same sort of boring answer that Scheifele usually gives. And that's just Blake sort of not being able to stay out of his own way, and just sort of if he gives a nothing answer and doesn't even answer the question necessarily, then it's definitely not anything. So I'm thankful that he gives his sarcastic answer, because at least it gives you something to talk about and gives us 2 minutes worth of conversation here on the post-game show. Speaking of the post-game show, we'll next be in action Tuesday night, right around 9:45 p.m. after the Jets and the Montreal Canadiens, the Jake Evans revenge matchup. Do you think there's anything lingering from that, Ezzy?
No.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to see. I mean, I guess we'll find out on Tuesday, which is, Stay tuned. LegalCurve.com until then. But then come back and join. And make sure you hit that like button, folks. We need that like button to be hit to increase the algorithm for Illegal Curve.
There you go. That's what we ask of you, is to smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this Sunday evening. The Jets victorious today in Arizona by the 5-3 margin, an absolutely massive victory. They're next in action on Tuesday night. For Ezra Ginsburg, for Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Until Tuesday, right around 9:45 p.m., we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks so much for joining us on the Illegal Curve postgame show.